So good morning, everybody. And I'm glad you're here. We have a jam-packed morning. So the past 3 weeks, we've looked at the first 3 noble truths. And today we're going to explore the 4th, and it's complicated. So just bear with me and don't get hung up on the words, because I'm going to share this whole thing with you, but I really want you to take it in as a gestalt, as a whole, not as the specifics. So just to review very, very briefly, the first noble truth can be looked at as we all experience pain. And the second as suffering is really related to how we respond to that pain. And the third is that suffering is optional. So here we are at the 4th, and the 4th is the pathway out of suffering. This is where it gets complicated. The path out of suffering in the Buddhist view is the Eightfold Path. And I'm going to really go through what each of these pathways is. But let me first give you this frame that from my point of view, this really boils down to ethical living. And as I have studied the Eightfold Path, I have kind of almost been doing, like, I hate to call it a simultaneous translation, but sort of that's the phrase that comes to my mind, with our tradition. So a lot of this reminds me of things that I've read in Pirkei Avot, and a lot of this seems very aligned with a Musar practice. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later, but sort of notice where you see those connections as I'm explaining the Eightfold Path. So the Eightfold Path is divided into 3 main categories, and they consist of the wisdom category, or the wisdom group, which is right understanding and right thought, the conduct or morality group, which is right speech, right livelihood, and right action, and the discipline or concentration group, which is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So those are the 8 paths. You'll notice that every path starts with the word right. And it's important to understand that that doesn't mean right as opposed to wrong. Right in this context really is about the actions, words, or thoughts that generate happiness or inner peace for ourselves and for others. So it's more of what is the best way to be peaceful in this moment. And right action, speech, thoughts, livelihood, etc., all lead away from suffering and toward a life of peace and wholesomeness and kindness. So now we'll talk about each path. So the wisdom group, right understanding, sometimes is called right perspective and right outlook. And with right understanding, we are looking to see through illusion or mental confusion or cognitive distortions. So we're really looking for reality. Right thought is sometimes called right intention. And it is a commitment to cultivate attitudes that serve us. So there's a recognition that our thoughts and intentions arise from our perception of reality. So our perception of reality, if our perception of reality is kind of twisted, we're going to end up generating harmful thoughts, which lead to suffering. So eliminating harmful thoughts develops wholesome states of mind, such as compassion, kindness, and non-attachment. So that's how those two connect. In the conduct or morality group, we have right speech, right action, and right livelihood. So right speech is speaking truthfully, avoiding slander, gossip, offensive or abusive speech. So this is Lashon Hara, right? These are the rules about Lashon Hara. Speech has the capacity, we know this, to inflict a great deal of suffering and harm. And when we are filled with kindness and compassion, that leads to helpful, healing, and supportive words for others. And that's peaceful. Right action is refraining from, you can name them, crime, murder, overindulging in the sense pleasures, those kinds of things. It's the movement toward behaving with peace and harmony. So right action is motivated by kindness and generosity and patience and tolerance. And there's this really profound desire to help other people and to preserve life. So this is clear, a clear relationship to some of the 10 Commandments. Right livelihood involves making sure that your livelihood is not the cause of suffering for other people or for animals, or even for the planet. In the Buddhist readings, the Buddhist teachings rather, there's a very specific comment about how the nature of our work affects our hearts and our minds. So we want to avoid occupations that cause harm or exploit. And then we have the discipline group, and that's right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So right effort is cultivating skillful or wholesome qualities like compassion and kindness and wisdom, as opposed to craving, aversion, and ignorance, which are 3 qualities that we talked about in relation to the second noble truth, that it's craving, aversion, and ignorance that really cause suffering. Right mindfulness is about developing an awareness of sensations, physical sensations and feelings and states of mind. And this is a recognition that by being in touch with our bodies, minds, hearts, we're much better able to understand our reactions to things and thereby respond with grace rather than react with impulsivity. And right concentration is the ability to developing the mental focus necessary so that we can do all of this internal exploration. So these 8 paths are like spokes of a wheel. They're all important, and they're all happening. Our exploration of them is all happening simultaneously. But there is another aspect of this 8-fold path, and that sometimes is called the middle way or the middle path. And that's the path of balance between extremes, so that we avoid extremes. And that's where, for me, the Musar practice becomes so evident. In Musar, we look at midot, character traits, and with each midah, we're looking at what the possible extremes are of that midah, and we're working to bring ourselves into some sense of balance. If we're too filled with loving kindness, we're a doormat. But on the other extreme of loving kindness is significant selfishness. And that's also no good. Then we're not in contact, and we're not with other people, and we're not being helpful. So I find this just really rich. So in my humble opinion, and not terrifically well studied in Buddhism, to me, this all boils down to living and behaving in ways that we see as promoting kindness and compassion for ourselves and for others, with balance, so that we're not giving so much that we deplete ourselves, and that we're not so self-indulgent that we're not contributing to the benefit of society. So I'd like you to take your seat now and really settle in. And as we sit today in meditation, I encourage you to focus on enhancing that notion of concentration or focus. So take a moment to name for yourself your anchor for today, your point of concentration. Maybe it's your breath, maybe it's sounds, maybe it's movement in your body as you breathe, as you inhale and exhale. Name that for yourself. So let's sit together. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And if not, just let your eyelids get a little heavy and maybe close halfway, gazing down at the floor with a soft gaze. And now let's take a couple of nice cleansing breaths together. Breathing in fully and exhaling. And again, inhaling and exhaling. And now as you breathe comfortably, really feel your bottom, wherever it's landing, on a chair, on a cushion, on the floor. And allow yourself to be heavy. Really sink in and feel supported. And at the same time, let the top of your head reach up all the way to the heavens, elongating your spine, sitting in this position that hopefully is both relaxed and alert. And as we sit today, every time your mind wanders, and you all know that it's going to wander, that's what minds do. Every time, with kindness, come back to your anchor, whatever it is that you decided was your anchor for today. So we'll sit in silence for about 10 minutes, as we focus on concentration and kindness. As you slowly and gently and with kindness come back to the room, I'm going to read a poem. This is called Peace is in This Moment Without Judgment by Dorothy Hunt. Do you think peace requires an end to war? Or tigers eating only vegetables? Does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here? Some other time than now? In some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel something other than what you feel, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in this heart space where everything that is welcome. So with that, we will turn off the recording and